And we're back live here on NFL Daily. Tom Downey, Stone Shields behind the scenes, producing today's show for you. We'll talk NFL contract stuff with one true holdout left, one big contract left for a player who has not skipped anything, and one player who is holding in, it certainly seems. That player is Ja'Marr Chase. Didn't go to practice on Monday. Well, didn't participate in practice on Monday. Wednesday is our first real practice day for NFL teams, like the normal game week practices. If he skips that one, we kind of really have to look at the possibility of Ja'Marr Chase skipping actual games that matter, which would be pretty shocking and a pretty big negative for the Bengals. Do you think that happens? One for yes, he skips at least one game. They can beat the Patriots without him, I would argue, pretty easily. The Chiefs in week 2, you ain't beating Kansas City without Ja'Marr Chase, unless Mahomes is suddenly turned into a pumpkin somehow. So will he skip any games? 1 for yes, 0 for no. It's a lot of ones in the comment section. Antonio says 1. Caitlin, Shelley, Christian, William Wright, all typing in their ones for yes. They think that Ja'Marr Chase is going to skip games. Stone, you are our Bengals host here. I know you don't want Ja'Marr Chase to potentially skip any games. Do you think he will, though?
I do not. I think he will be out there week 1 for the Cincinnati Bengals against the Patriots. I still remain optimistic. I don't think he'll leave Burrow out to dry like that. I think he'll be out there.
I would guess that's the case as well, but you probably don't feel as confident as you once did about that.
Correct. I said that on Bengals Breakdown earlier today. I was not. I'm starting to lose a little bit faith. I'm now becoming a little bit worried. But, as of now, as of Tuesday, still optimistic.
There you go. So what you guys think? Will he skip any games? I haven't seen – there's no zeros in the comments section, but 40% of the poll, give or take, has voted no. So remember, vote in both the pin poll and in the comment section of today's video to make sure you guys have your voice heard fully from that perspective. So we will also talk about the Cowboys and Dak Prescott. And if a deal gets done, lots of reporting, sometimes new info, sometimes not so new info that we'll discuss as well today. I have had my doubts for a long time that the Cowboys are going to get a deal done with Dak before the season begins because there's really no impetus for Dak to say yes unless it is a really good contract offer, because he could always say yes this next free agency if he just wanted to come back, and he'd probably get a higher offer given the way the Cowboys do business. So it is a very precarious situation because they don't get a deal done. He's 4 or 5 months away from being a free agent, a situation that we haven't actually seen in the NFL before. It would be an unprecedented situation. We'll talk more about Dak and other elements of today's show. But first, today's show is made possible by our good friends over at Prize Picks. They're America's _1 daily fantasy sports app, over 5 million active members. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS and get $50 instantly when you play 5. That's code CLNS over at prizepicks.com/CLNS to get $50 instantly when you play 5. You don't even need to win to get that $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. It's Prize Picks. Run your game. Today's show also made possible by Game Time. Game Time has unveiled their newest feature. It's called Game Time Picks. It makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live easier than ever. It filters out all the fluff to only show you the incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Download the Game Time app, create your account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, but again, create your account, redeem code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS, for $20 off. For the first time in a long time, we get to do a Who You Got on NFL Daily because football's back on Thursday. There will be no live show on Thursday because Tyler Jones is our normal Thursday NFL Daily Live host. He has a game. He has to do the Chiefs game, so not going to happen there. Who you got? C for the Chiefs, R for the Ravens. Part of me wants to go Baltimore and take the upset. After what we saw happen last time the Chiefs played week 1. Remember that? Didn't beat the Lions. Stone?
I think this is a game that Baltimore goes in there and wins. I think people remember kind of their performance from last year in the AFC Championship game, and I think they'll be out for blood in this one. Kansas City might still be basking in the glory of their Super Bowl title. I think I got Baltimore in this one.
Maybe there won't be as many drops for the Chiefs as what there were last year.
Yeah, that too.
All right, who we got? C for the Chiefs, R for the Ravens. William Wright, Clayton, and Caitlin typing in their C's. Shelly, Christian, Antonio, Shamari typing in their R's. Buddy says he can see Prescott going to Washington. He spent a second overall pick on Jaden Daniels. That won't happen. New York, though. The Giants. That would not surprise me at all. All right, if you are ready for us to start today's show, then simply like the video. You're not that far away from that 50% like ratio. So if you haven't already, do me that favor. Like today's video. Always aiming for 50%. It's a good indication of engaged audience, etc. So like that video if you haven't already done so. Coming up on today's live edition of NFL Daily, rumors and news will have a heavy contractual focus. I said that kind of weird, but contractual focus. A mailbag as well. 2 ways to get on the show. Use hashtag NFL, or you can skip the line altogether and super chat. I don't see any hashtag NFL questions in there. So if you have thoughts, comments, questions, concerns about your team, whatever, get them in for the mailbag. That's all of 15 minutes away. See Evdog putting one in there. Thank you, my friend. Use hashtag NFL or skip the line via super chat. With week 1 of college football now over, we're also going to run through a longer list than I probably should have made, but I don't care. NFL draft winners and losers from the first week of the college football season. That's all coming up live here on NFL Daily. Football is back, and I want to see who is repping their team in the comment section of today's show. Shout out your favorite team for me in the comment section. Truly no wrong answers. Let me see what fan base showed up the most on today's show. We're going to begin with latest on Dak Prescott. Both Diana Rossini of The Athletic and Ian Rapport of NFL Network have fairly sizable, maybe, updates on the Dak Prescott situation and where things sit there. First, the update, this was from Monday evening, Monday afternoon, whatever it was, from Ian Rapport on Dak. You guys mentioned the Cowboys start with Dak Prescott, their quarterback, who is in talks with him about a potential contract extension would keep him in the Cowboys uniform, maybe for the balance of his career. The two sides have been working. There have been active conversations for about the last month or so, and the stakes are as high as they get. If Prescott does do a deal, which of course would make him the highest paid quarterback player everything in NFL history, he will remain with the Cowboys this season and beyond. If he does not do a deal, then the likelihood is he'll be a free agent, and the highest profile free agent we have ever seen. He has all the leverage you could possibly get, and the clock is ticking. Most of that wasn't new information. The two sides have been in contract talks and even outright negotiating through the media for a while now. You've seen Jerry take, maybe not shots, but, firing across the bow to an extent. Dak doing the same. They've had negotiations. The clock is ticking. They got to make some decisions here. Now, Diana Rossini had this update. The holdup at this point, from what I understand, is about the years the Dallas Cowboys are willing to commit to. While it's assumed that Dak is going to be paid at the top of the market, the Cowboys are aware of that. Do they want to put themselves in a position, contractually, that will keep Dak in Dallas longer than 2, 3, 4 years? And that's what Dak is looking for. He's looking for a long-term commitment from Dallas. The holdup here is really the belief from the Dallas Cowboys. This is a guy who's won a lot of games, but is that enough? Winning's not enough for Jerry Jones. We know this. They want to do more. They don't want to be just a team that wins a lot of games. They want to be a team that can play in the Super Bowl. I'm going to ignore my shots as that the Cowboys actually love being a 10-win team because it keeps them in the headlines every single playoff time. I think they actually do enjoy that. And the front office has not made changes to not just be that team, but I digress. But also, that's not how Dallas does contract stuff. They love longer deals. They wanted a longer deal with CeeDee Lamb. They wanted a longer deal with Dak Prescott the first time. So that report from Rossini, from a year's perspective, doesn't necessarily make the most sense to me. Now, I have a theory that we will get to here in a little bit as to what I think the report is supposed to mean. I think there's some stuff lost in translation. But first, Will the Dallas Cowboys actually end up paying Dak Prescott? I have my doubts. It's the pinned comment on today's video, so if the ad comes on the YouTube side, it's just fine. Take advantage of it. Head down there. Y for yes, N for no. Look, I have very real doubts that this happens, especially before the season begins. And I wouldn't mind looking like an idiot, 24 hours from now, whatever. But Dak Prescott has unprecedented leverage here. This is unheard of from this perspective. We have not seen a player, a quarterback specifically, of Dak Prescott's caliber. He's coming off a second team All-Pro, runner-up MVP. His age, he's not old by any stretch of the imagination. And presumably, his health. That caliber of player has never hit free agency. Brady was older when he hit. Manning was coming off of injury we thought might be a career ender. Those guys were also both much older than Dak was. Multiple teams are drooling over the idea of Dak Prescott hitting free agency. Because Dak, signing him to insert contract here, it could be insane. It almost doesn't matter. That'll save their jobs. To a lesser extent, I would assume, because he's not Brady. The same way that Bucs GM Jason Light saved his job by signing Tom Brady. Dallas has made multiple mistakes with Dak in this entire process. They could have paid him early the first time and not be in this exact situation. They wouldn't have to worry about no franchise tag clause, the no trade clause, the ability to hit free agency with no power to stop him whatsoever because there's no franchise tag option. They also should have made their decision, win now with Dak or rebuild, months ago. Either plan I could have gotten on board with. They chose to just do nothing, and now they're in kind of a precarious spot. So predictions. Where will Dak Prescott play in 2025? Dallas, New York, Raiders, Pittsburgh maybe? Plenty of options out there. Let me know in the comment section of today's show. Here's the potential outcome the Dallas Cowboys are facing. If they don't get Dak done by week 1, they can pay a larger amount in March, probably just overall money, guaranteed money, etc., or say, we're not going to pay you, but also have no quarterback under contract, and probably picking that at 24 again with very limited assets to go get one. That's a bad spot to be. And my theory, coming back to the Diana Rossini report, is that if we change commit and years from that terminology to not meaning length of the deal, but what's guaranteed actual real commitment, then that report makes sense. A longer deal with not as much money actually guaranteed equals more team power. They have the chance to cut somebody if they want to. They've never had that possibility really with Dak Prescott. Commitment in the modern day NFL does not come from the years of a deal, but from the guaranteed money. You could give any player a 10-year contract right now, but if only the first 3 years of that deal are guaranteed, it's not really a 10-year contract. It's a 3-year contract with team options after that. So I could very much see a scenario in which Dallas says, we're a 5-year deal, but we only want to guarantee 2 years of it. And that's a non-starter for Dak's camp because the guaranteed money has skyrocketed, like all money has. Which, by the way, this is what happens when the salary cap goes up. I know the numbers are earth-shattering and they're eye-popping, but when the salary cap is skyrocketed, guess what? The money tends to skyrocket as well. You want to make Dak the quarterback in Dallas, you're going to have to pay him a pretty big amount of money. And I get that's, concerning for some. This is how the market works. There are not actually that many quarterbacks on that list that are clearly better than Dak Prescott. Now, today's show is made possible by Game Time. There's clearly no better app out there for buying sports tickets than Game Time, or concert, comedy, theater, etc. Game Time has a new feature, by the way, called Game Time Picks. It makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. It filters out the fluff to only show you the incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste your time searching through thousands of tickets. All-in pricing shows your total cost up front, so there are no surprise fees at checkout. They're also giving you $20 off your first purchase. Download the Game Time app today, create your account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Never forget that. But create your account and redeem code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS, for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. Let's talk Jamar Chase. This one, Dak is not a threat to skip games. That's not how he's wired. Jamar Chase might be, though. He, as of filming, still not practicing. We'll see if that changes at all on Wednesday as his hold in for a contract extension continues. Look, folks, we are days away from games being played. Could Jamar Chase skip games? He at least is kind of threatening that in a way that you don't see any other players doing outside of one guy we'll get to here in a little bit. That's the only leverage play Jamar Chase has. And maybe it is in the end just a leverage attempt to get in on the insanity that is the receiver market, which is actually the exact same percentage of the cap-wise it was when Calvin Johnson got paid. It's the same deal as Justin Jefferson, kind of crazily. Anyway, Bengals schedule. Patriots week 1. Do they need Jamar Chase for that game? Nah, they don't need him. Chiefs in week 2, yes they do. Chase can threaten, but would he actually? Would he leave his best friend and quarterback out there, Joe Burrow? I don't know if he would. So prediction time. Will Jamar Chase skip any games? 1 for yes, 0 for no. Let me know in the comments of today's show. Page's numbers, I guess, dipped slightly in 2023 from a per-game perspective, but the quarterback was hurt. He missed time in 2022, which maybe is a red flag for Cincinnati. It was a bit nicked up. But once the ball in his hand, I swear to God, every time I watch Jamar Chase play, how many times does the first guy bring him down? If it's in space, like vertical shots, maybe a bit different there if you're getting tackled from behind on a jump ball. But like, he makes the first guy miss constantly. If you're forming your top 3 best young wide receivers in the NFL, in some order, it is Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb. So yeah, Chase is going to be in that conversation. I think for the Bengals specifically, it's probably less about the average per year. Jefferson 35, Lamb 34. You're going to be in that ballpark, whatever. It's about the guaranteed money. Justin Jefferson got 110. CeeDee Lamb got $100 million guaranteed. The Bengals historically don't guarantee money beyond that first year of the extension. Now, they broke that rule for Joe Burrow. They're going to have to break it for for Jamar Chase. They don't have any option. That's expensive for a less rich, let's put it that way, NFL franchise to do. Now, we'll have more NFL YouTube videos for you guys here all season long. So if you haven't already, hit that sub button right now. It's youtube.com/chatsportstv. The last true actual holdout is Haason Reddick, who we don't have a Jets photo because he never showed up for picture day or anything for New York. He's still holding out from the Jets organization. There were some Jets reporters who thought he might show up on Tuesday. Like, Tuesday's the day because the fines get more expensive. It was a very logical thought. Didn't happen. Head coach Robert Saleh, well, I haven't really talked to him yet. The fines continue to mount, none of which is good for the Jets, who their plan is to have a really good front four and get after the quarterback. And Haason Reddick, a big part of that front four. He's had 11 sacks 4 straight years. There's 2 QBs who have done that. Or 2 passers who have done that, excuse me. Reddick and this guy named Myles Garrett. So I don't really know what's going on at this point with Haason Reddick, but I kind of feel like this holdout could continue through maybe not just week 1, but maybe even beyond that. It is mailbag time here on NFL Daily. 2 ways to get on the show. Use hashtag NFL or skip the line altogether with a super chat. Handful of NFL questions. We need more there. Hashtag NFL is how you make that happen. Can you put that fan on me a little bit more? Don't know why. It's a little bit warmer in here today. Make it more cool for me in the office. So, hashtag NFL or super chat. I see a handful of NFL questions. SM, yeah, Evdog, DC Viper, Lores or anything. Yeah, feels much better. Thank you. Hopefully it's not getting picked up by the headset. It shouldn't. It's only pretty good about that. So, get your questions in. Appreciate that food review. Hashtag NFL or super chat to skip the line altogether here on our live NFL mailbag. You guys are watching NFL Daily. I am Tom Downey here with our live mailbag from Tuesday's show. From Lore, Will Leonard Floyd and Yetur Gross-Matos be ready for week 1 of the NFL regular season? I hope so for the 49ers' sake. That is a team that they kind of overhauled their non-Nick Bosa off defensive line. Obviously, Javon Hargrave's still there. Malik Collins comes into town. Leonard Floyd, Yetur Gross-Matos. Jordan Elliott at DT along with Hargrave. It's a different group. It is going to be a penetrating group. I love Nick Bosa. So need somebody opposite them at edge rusher. Overall, injury-wise, I'm not overly concerned, but we'll certainly know more on Wednesday and throughout the week. From you, Green. Is this Marshall Green's cousin, you think? Could the Patriots upset the Bengals? Could? Yes. Am I going to bet on them to do so? No. The Bengals, I think, are a better football team at every level. There are probably some defensive areas they're not better. Maybe running back with Ramondre Stevenson gives them the edge, but I don't know. Joe Burrow versus Jacoby Brissett. Give me Joe Burrow. That defense does not have Christian Barmore. The Patriots, I don't mind the Patriots over on their win total, but on the road, week 1, I very much think it is a Bengals win. Even if it's just a money line win and not like a full-on they cover, I think the Bengals win that game. I'd be surprised if they lost. It would truly be an upset. From Caleb King, if the Raiders are bad, could they fire sale Devontae Adams? A lot of this comes down to the Raiders' long-term plans because there is a decision to be made next offseason with Devontae Adams. With the way his contract is set up, they're not going to keep him as is. Doesn't make any sense. They will either pay him and extend him, or they're going to move on via release or trade. And release might make more sense given the contract and age and everything there. If they're really bad, I could see them trading away Adams. I could see Adams saying, I don't want to be here anymore. Because does Adams want to sit here with a young QB and rebuild? Did you know the Jets are going to be calling? You know they're going to. So it'll be a rumor. But I want to see how the Jets play out. Because if there is a plan to get a different quarterback in 2025, they would benefit from having Devontae Adams. So predictions. I know my answer, but I want to hear your guys' too. Sorry, Mitch. Will the Raiders make the playoffs? Y for yes, N for no. It is the pinned comment on today's show. If that ad comes on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. From Noah Turner, are you a Bryce Young believer? What do we call someone who's not a truther, not a hater, somewhere in the middle, and probably leaning a little bit more towards the truther side? I guess that would semi-believer? I think it was a really bad situation last year in Carolina. I think it's better this year. I still worry if it's going to be better enough with the offensive line, receiving core. Hopefully Dave Canales is better. He's had some good success several years in a row, kind of rehabbing some quarterbacks in Seattle and in Tampa. I like the talent. Love to come out of Alabama. I think it was a really bad situation year 1 in Carolina. So at minimum, I am open to waiting another year and seeing how it all plays out. But it's a short shelf life for picks. You got to prove it quickly or you're going to get moved on from. I think he's got this year and next year, and then it's go time. From you, Green, do you pay Dak or just draft the top QB in the draft and invest in the team? I think either is a valid plan for Dallas. My biggest problem is they didn't do either when they should have. You could have paid Dak this offseason, brought down his cap hit, and invested more in the team and not just do bargain bin free agency shopping like you always do. Instead, they didn't pay Dak Prescott, didn't pay CeeDee Lamb. If they do pay Dak, as of filming Tuesday they have not, that's going to free up to $20 million in cap if they want to. It's like $30 million they could have spent. They chose not to and are going to roll over into next year when they have massive amounts of cap space, by the way. The other option is to draft that top QB. But you're not going to move on from Dak right now. So you're going to be picking in the 20s again. What quarterback are you going to get in the 20s that's good? That you think is a real franchise guy? That guy's going to go top 5, whoever it ends up being. So you kind of missed your window to tank properly. What would end up happening is if you lose Dak for a third-round comp pick, you can't spend money in free agency really because you're going to miss on that comp pick. That'd be a big deal. You can't sacrifice that. and you're going to be picking in the 20s with no quarterback option, and you're delaying your proper rebuild by a year. The path has been, the process has been garbage for the Dallas Cowboys. At this point, the best path probably is to pay him. But you also still are not maximizing that either way. It's not a fun spot to be for Dallas because of their own self-inflicted mistakes. Today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. They are America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. Over 5 million active members. It is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps, it's just you against the numbers. More or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and watch those winnings roll in. One of the coolest things Prize Picks is doing this year is 1 Caleb Williams passing yard gets you 1 win on Prize Picks every week in the month of September. It's a freebie. So I'm pairing Caleb Williams more than a half passing yard getting to 1. CeeDee Lamb more than receiving yards. Dak Prescott more than passing yards. I normally do the flex play, which means you can get 2 out of 3 right and still win. When I get the freebie, I go for the power play. That gets me the most amount back. So download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS and get $50 instantly when you play 5. That's code CLNS to get $50 instantly when you play 5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It is guaranteed. Prize Picks. Run your game. SM, what ends up happening with the Haason Reddick situation? At some point, he shows up. I don't see a trade happening. I think the Jets are very much entrenched in the sunken costs they've committed to Haason Reddick, which might even be the fallacy version. It might just be have to play it. Because that GM is kind of on the hot seat. Like, if they don't win games, the GM head coach might be gone. You can't trade Reddick away for nothing and then be like, oh, we're fine. That's how the owner gets pissed at you, right? So I think they will play hardball. Reddick eventually shows up, maybe after week 1, who knows, and probably doesn't play as well as he would have had he shown up on time. Aiden Max, can the Steelers trade for Courtland Sutton? If we believe the report that the Broncos rejected a 3rd-round pick in exchange for Sutton, then no. If I'm Pittsburgh, I'm not going to trade away my 2nd-round pick. Like, I think they're excited about the Russell Wilson-Justin Fields combo. That's fine. When you don't know you have your franchise QB, and you might need one in next year's draft, keep those draft assets. You might need them to move up or trade them for other things. So it's a fun idea. We can revisit if Denver's bad at the trade deadline, but I also think Denver kind of needs Courtland Sutton to help Bo Nix grow. You don't want to have it's a Bryce Young conversation, right? You don't want to be in a spot where there's no good receivers for your 1st-round pick at QB. That's bad. That's just bad. A bad job by your front office. So, player who you think gets traded. There will be somebody around the deadline. Name who you think that player ends up being. Bonus points if you name multiple players for me in the comments of today's show. Food review. There's always an overhyped team that just seems to disappoint. What is your team? It's a good question. I think it's normally this often falls into the everyone buys that the jump is coming and then it doesn't come. Sometimes it comes a year later. 2 teams I want to mention, and I do believe in them, but if we're trying to identify this spot, what if that 9-game, 10-game, half-season sample size from Jordan Love was a flash in the pan? It's a small sample size. Now, I believe in him, and I think he figured some stuff out, but year 2 is normally harder for a QB. I think that applies to Jordan Love. Also kind of applies to C.J. Stroud. I believe in both those teams. I'll put them in my playoff predictions, but I think there's some real questions there. Hype side, always got to put Dallas in that conversation, right? Always have to, especially come January. Christian Navarro, how will the Bills' offense be like not having both receivers, Gabe Davis, Stephon Diggs, and Mitch Morse? It's a good question. I think they'll be okay on the offensive line. Connor McGovern has played center a little bit in Dallas. I'm a little worried about David Edwards plugging in there. We'll see how that goes. The receiving core is going to be super different. I think Keon Coleman's a fun fit for what Josh Allen can do. I think Khalil Shakir is going to be heavily involved in slot receiver. Here's my issue. Dalton Kincaid, Khalil Shakir, Curtis Samuel. I'd argue all three of those guys are best out of the slot. Is Matt Collins going to be this sacrificial X receiver? Like, he'll play a lot because he can block. I think it's going to be a different offense. I think it will still lean heavily on Josh Allen making plays. Best thing that can happen is a massive breakout season from Keon Coleman as a first-year player. Now, if you want to be a part of these NFL mailbags, hit that sub button. We're live on Tuesdays. You want to join them, got a sub. It's that simple. From CISO Sporty, will the Falcons live up to expectations? I almost put them on the other one. I think it's very possible because I think the expectations for Atlanta are just to make the postseason. In the NFC South, that's very doable. Now, I think that defense has some question marks. I don't like the way how they handled the quarterback stuff this offseason. But if the expectations are playoffs, yes, they absolutely can hit that. It's not that high of a bar. Skylar Jones, what team that made the playoffs last year misses it this year? There's always going to be multiple. That happens every year, and there's always like the, wow, didn't see that one coming, and then we're haters if we try to pick that one, which is fair, frankly. I think you look at the AFC North. Bengals didn't make it last year. If they're healthy, they're going to make it. So pick one of Pittsburgh and Cleveland. AFC East, boy, it seems like the Jets might have their chances this year. So probably pick one of Buffalo or Miami. NFC, I'm a little bit worried about the Rams. I think they exceeded expectations last year. Could they come back down to earth a little bit? And probably, I would not be shocked if one of Dallas or Philadelphia did not make it. The NFC's not that good, and I think that gives those teams some help there, but there's real questions around both of those squads. So I want you to name a good NFL team, kind of a surprise pick to an extent, who you think will miss the playoffs this year. Let me know in the comments of today's show. Like this question from SM. Is Brady going to lose his ownership? NFL did the right thing restricting him. I agree. If you don't know what's going on, Brady has a deal in place to buy some of the Raiders from Mark Davis, and he also wants to do his Fox Sports broadcasting stuff. Well, turns out other NFL owners do not want the guy who does the broadcasting, who gets to be in all these personnel meetings, all these interview stuff, have really good insider info, to also own an NFL franchise. That's a pretty big conflict of interest. So he has to pick one. And he probably will hold off on the ownership until he's done doing the broadcasting stuff, assuming he's good at the broadcasting stuff. He may or may not be. Witten was terrible. Romo was good. Romo kind of fell off. It's not quite 1-to-1, especially if Brady keeps going old man guy, which I'm a little bit worried about him doing a lot of, just like back in my day. So right now, I don't think he's got the ownership. And I think you're right, SM. That is the only viable move that the NFL could have made. They had to do it. You can't let a part-time owner also be involved in team meetings and interview stuff. Like, that's not okay. Even Dog, Vikings trade for John Mechie. Curious what happens in Houston. They moved on from Noah Brown. I think that was probably their move. I think they want to try to buy some time for Mechie, but it might be a tough path to playing time. Minnesota is very light on draft picks, though. They probably can't do many trades. Ecuador man AOG, our last one here, is Kevin King an option for the Cowboys? If you'd asked me this, and we probably did talk about it, 2 years ago, maybe. I kind of think it's a red flag that Kevin King has kind of bounced around. He did get on a practice squad this year, which he skipped the 2022 season. He skipped the 2023 season. Now he's on the Falcons practice squad. So I don't think anyone wants to gamble on that for an active roster spot because there's so much unknown. That does have ties to Mike McCarthy. If he were healthy, different conversation. But right now, or if he'd been healthy previously, but I think right now, probably not. All right, who you got? C for the Chiefs, R for the Ravens. Should be a good season opening game. Got some strengths and weaknesses that matched up pretty decently. The Ravens held their own last time those two teams played. Who we got? C or R in the comments section. Let's see. Also answer you, Green. Think Joe Milton will be better long-term than Drake May? No. Also, like, PD's going to be mad at me for saying this, but, like, can we talk about, like, Joe Milton in the preseason? Like, actually, he wasn't that good. Like, he had some awesome highlight reel plays, right? But it's not like he was consistently impressive in the preseason. He made a lot of running around, big arm play stuff. But, like, as a passer, he was 11 of 30 in the preseason. Like, he had a really good first game against Carolina, and I don't think that many people watched him afterward. He was bad. He was 2 of 7 against the Eagles, 5 of 17 against the Commanders. It wasn't good. Like, that first game was fun. Not good afterwards, which is kind of the whole Joe Milton experience. Looks good one play. Wow, what the hell just happened there? That's just kind of who he is. So, you want to develop Joe Milton, that's fine. Have your 24-and-a-half-year-old developmental piece. Drake May by a mile. Drake May was vastly better in the preseason, which is vastly better in college, too. Everything's coming up, Drake May. Coming up on today's show, we will break down some of my top 2025 NFL Draft winners and losers, risers and fallers, whatever you want to call it, after week 1 and week 0, kind of the college football season. Now, we're not going to get to every player, and it's only one game, or 2 in a couple of people's cases there, but it is worth having the conversation of, and good names to keep in mind as they grow and develop and have an entire college football season still in front of them. Speaking of, if you want NFL draft updates all season long, then like today's video. The more likes we get, the better chance I will be allowed to keep doing these NFL draft passion projects because the views come along with them. So like today's video for me right now. Let's go quarterback heavy to start here. Cam Ward out of Miami, Florida, the former Incarnate Word, former Washington State quarterback. Gators are bad, Hurricanes are good is your big takeaway from week 1. Shout out Billy Napier, you're going to get fired, buddy. Cam Ward was very impressive against a team that, we might look back on and say they just weren't a very good football team. Very real possibility of that. And I've seen some national conversation of like, wow, Cam Ward put himself on the map. Cam Ward has been on the map. He was awesome to begin last season at Washington State. 74.5% completion percentage, 9.9 yards per attempt, 13 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and then not through his own fault entirely. The Cougars fell apart. So I love seeing Cam Ward play well. I've seen him play well before. I need to see him do it over the entire course of his season. If he does that, one of these quarterbacks in a down class is going to rise. It could very well be Cam Ward. And if he does that, he might just win the Heisman Trophy for the Hurricanes. I thought Drew Aller played pretty well for Penn State. I'll give him a slight edge over some other quarterbacks we'll get to here, mostly because of the level of competition involved. West Virginia is probably going to be a bowl team again this year. 11 of 17, 216 yards, 3 touchdowns, some big plays in there, mostly accurate, didn't turn the football over. Again, for all these players, it is a totality of the season thing. Great job playing well against West Virginia. Play well against some of the better Big Ten teams you face. NFL teams still love the big guy with the strong arm. That's Drew Aller. Just got to be more consistently impactful. Let's go to Miller Moss. And to an extent, I think we're going to have some issues in the NFL draft media of we're really trying hard to find a quarterback. We're going to have to hype somebody up because it's not the same class it's been in some previous years. I do think Miller Moss played pretty well. What we're not going to do is do the nonsense about, does he give USC a better chance at Caleb Williams? No. Having a defense that doesn't pee down their pants every time they face a kid out of high school is going to help them. That defense was so much better against LSU overall. I saw some good stuff from Miller Moss. It's probably going to get more challenging since LSU is just a bad team week 1 for whatever reason. They always find fun ways to lose or not so fun ways, but progress. I even thought Garrett Nussmeier played pretty well for LSU. There were some fun plays on his tape. Thought Shedeur Sanders checked off. Shedeur Sanders, Jalen Milroe, and Quinn Ewers all playing lesser competition. checked off those boxes. I'm not going to overreact to those guys, but they didn't do anything bad, like some other guys we'll get to later on in today's show. I thought even Carson Beck was fine. I don't think there's a clear-cut QB1 right now. Edge, I guess, is still Beck after that was the consensus guy, quote-unquote, entering the year. Still a wide-open race. Who will be QB1 in the 2025 NFL Draft? It's the pinned comment on today's video. That ad comes on YouTube. Take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. There were a lot of running backs I wanted to give some love to. I thought Marion Hampton played well. Ollie Gordon played well. Several others I thought were really impactful. How can you not go with Ashton Jeanty, though? Now, look, it's a very different level of competition. It is Georgia Southern. But you know what? 20 carries for 267 yards. Last I checked, that's pretty good. I think that's a really incredible start to a season. Big test for Jeanty to announce himself as RB1 this upcoming week. Oregon. Much different matchup. But if he can have some success, look out. I might put the most impressive week 1 performance on the shoulders of Teroya McMillan, the Arizona wide receiver. I don't know if you guys were up late watching. I guess it's not Pac-12 After Dark, but I still kind of want to call it Pac-12 After Dark because it's funnier. Big 12 After Dark. 15 targets, 10 catches for 304 yards and 4 scores. McMillan is a big receiver. He's tall. He doesn't move like he's tall and leggy and stiff. He's really good after the catch. Very impressed by his play. I want to see him actually be better at the more typical big receiver stuff, contested catches, etc. But the Arizona offense at times is no Fafita going, F it, my grade school buddy's down there somewhere. And it works. It was New Mexico. But still, it was an awesome performance out of McMillan. Let's get some defenders in here. Malachi Starks had the really awesome interception. The highlight reel was maybe the most impressive part. The ability to get himself in position to even make the play with what he was doing there against the slot fade. That's Earl Thomas, prime Earl Thomas-esque. Now, today's show is made possible by Game Time. Game Time has a new feature. It's called Game Time Picks. Makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out all the fluff to show you only the incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets to a college football game like, I don't know, Texas at Michigan in the game of the week. A concert, if you want to go see the Post Malone, which I assume will be the country album tour for him in Nashville, or any NFL game. Game Time has you covered. The Game Time guarantee means you will always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So download the Game Time app, create your account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. But again, create your account, redeem code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS, for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. Let's stick with Georgia. Back-to-back winners here. Jalen Walker. Much buzz made about Michael Williams. I thought he played pretty well. Michael Williams did. Did get hurt. Jalen Walker comes in and dominates. 6 tackles, a sack and a half, a TFL and a half, and 2 pressures on 10 pass rush snaps. 10. Highly efficient. Wasn't really on my radar the same way other players at Georgia were, but very impressive week 1 performance out of Walker. Let's go to South Carolina. Now, that passing offense is an affront to all things modern-day football, but that pass rush is damn good. Funnily enough, we're only doing draft-eligible players. I thought the most impressive guy was Dylan Stewart, a true freshman. We can't even put on this list. But Kyle Kennard against Old Dominion here. 34 pass rush snaps, 5 tackles, 2.5 sacks, 4.5 TFLs, 6 pressures. Some of those pressures and sacks set up by the defensive lineman, TJ Sanders. Now, box score says 2 tackles. He had 4 quarterback hits on 5 pressure and 5 pressures on 28 pass rush reps. If you're hitting the quarterback every 7 pass rush snaps, that's really good, actually. Both guys, Sanders, Kennard was kind of more of a sleeper. Sanders had some love in the draft community, too. Both guys impressive. Lesser competition, of course. Let's see how they fare in the SEC play. I want you to name a 2025 NFL Draft Week 1 winner. from college football. A lot of names that I'm not getting to. I apologize in advance. I'm sure there'll be some, it's a great name you throw in there. Put them in there for me in the comments of today's show. I'm just going to cheat and group 5 different receivers together here. Travis Hunter is him. We kind of knew that already. That's meeting expectations against bad teams, dominating the game. Thought Xavier Restrepo played really well for the Hurricanes. Deion Burks only caught 6 passes. 3 of them were touchdowns. Again, lesser competition. Thought Jimmy Horn played pretty well. Again, Ole Miss had bad competition, but they also, Trey Harris had a big game. All these guys, some of them have been in first-round mocks, some haven't. I think they all helped themselves from a national perspective. If you guys want even more NFL YouTube videos, you've come to the right spot. Hit that sub button. It's youtube.com/chatsportstv for more NFL videos all season and off-season long. We have to talk losers, too. That is how this works. And I don't know if there was there is one bigger loser in college football in general. But from a draft perspective, expectations was what we got in week 1. Boy, Connor Wigman was rough. Now, look, this might be a offensive fit issue where maybe his skill set doesn't match up with what Colin Klein wants to do. That's fine. But come on. You can't be potential quarterback 1 as sometimes up to be and go 12 of 30 for 100 yards with 2 interceptions against Notre Dame. And look, that's a good Notre Dame defense. I think Mark Stoops, a really good coach, was bad. We can say it was bad. And it doesn't answer the biggest question I had going into the season. You can watch some of our other videos. We have now updated this graphic. Connor Wigman against Power 5 / now Power 4, and I guess Notre Dame, we'll count them in there, games against non-Power 5 opponents. He goes from 76.1 to 53.8% completion percentage. The average yards per attempt is almost cut in half. 7 TDs in 3 games versus 9 and 7. 0 INTs versus 4. He has yet to prove to me, outside of really just one good game against Ole Miss and a half good game against Miami, that he's good against the best competition. He has yet to prove he's not a lesser competition merchant. I think he can be. I think that his skill set was a little bit overblown, and this could be a prime. He transfers somewhere else, tries to save his stock with a more typical passing offense next year, if things don't get turned around. Let's go to Donovan Smith, the Houston QB, who I also know had some love around the draft community. Big guy, athletic ability, arm talent. Boy, it was a disaster against UNLV. 15 of 31 for 135 yards. Do the math, it's really bad yards per attempt. 2 interceptions. Houston lost to UNLV, a team that doesn't really have much of a normal drop-back passing game. Always a red flag there. He got to be a lot better, or that preseason hype is going to quickly go away. So name a loser for me as it relates to the NFL draft from week 1 of college football. Let me know in the comments of today's show. I am going to put DJ Uiagalelei on here, DJU, and also the Florida State fan who has to eat the poop now. Look, I was never that high on him. I thought he was hidden in the Oregon State offense that was so run-heavy. I didn't think he was going to be this bad at Florida State. Honestly, I kind of think he has the yips a little bit. Like that corner route in the end zone is a grade school level throw. Not even high school. That is a grade school throw. Now, maybe it's like 8th grade school, but that is a throw every quarterback should make. He's wide open. You can underthrow him and it's a touchdown. To not even give him a chance, that was a yippee throw to me. He cannot move the ball downfield right now. He looks wildly uncomfortable. It's a disaster. There were people who thought he was going to be drafted by the NFL this year. I was never on board with that. But I didn't think this was going to be this bad. FSU is a disaster right now. In kind of embarrassing fashion, they look like they didn't practice anything all season. They're taking the cheese on every play action too. Quarterback wise, you might have to make a change here just to save the season. Should FSU bench DJU? Y for yes, N for no. Donovan Edwards, next up on the list. There was a point where it was like, who's better, Blake Corum, Donovan Edwards? Edwards wasn't as good last season and kind of didn't do great against Fresno State either. 11 carries for just 27 yards. Now, I will say about Donovan Edwards, he's a big game hunter. He gets up for the biggest games of the season. He did it last year down the stretch for Michigan, too. Can he do it against Texas? If he does, awesome, we're back in it. Otherwise, look, Khalil Mullins looked better. 15 of 92. That's a red flag for Edwards. Sorry, FSU fans, but the final name on this list is Patrick Payton. And I had put him in some round one conversations. Like, I like the guy. He's got some traits, got some skills. Where is he? I think I need an APB out on Patrick Payton. You're playing Boston College and Georgia Tech, and you've had 33 pass rush snaps, and you have one pressure? One? And I get the quality ain't that great, but that is not top 50 pick production. So I think you can get it turned around, but it got to be a lot better as they move forward. So will Jamar Chase skip any games? Like Jonathan G., Connor Wigman, DJU, Cade Klubnik, all 5-star busts. There's 5-star busts every year. Let me shut. Let me go to the 2020 class at the quarterback spot. Let's see what we got here. Let's do quarterbacks only. Bryce Young. Okay. DJU. CJ Stroud. And then bunch of dudes no one's heard of. Evan Prater. Remember him at Cincinnati? Yeah, that kind of flamed out. Hudson Card. Malik Hornsby. Harrison Bailey was supposed to be so good, right? 2021. Let's go to that, and we'll do quarterbacks again here. Quinn Ewers. Okay, so far so good. Caleb Williams. Remember Sam Hurd? Or Heward? Brock Heward's nephew, whatever it is? Yeah. Drake May, Brock Vandergriff, J.J. McCarthy, Caden Salters now at Liberty, Kyle McCord, Ty Thompson, and Tyler Buckner, who is now playing lacrosse. And actually didn't play lacrosse, technically speaking. This is fun, so I'm going to keep doing it as you guys vote if Chase will play any games. Drew Aller, Cade Klubnik, Connor Wigman. We'll see about Ty Simpson and Devin Brown. Walker Howard, Gunnar Stockton, Nick Evers, Malik Murphy transfer. That's kind of not a very good 2022 class. Kind of not. Oh, I should be on the composite. That makes more sense. Didn't really change much though. We'll do 2023 because there's one player I really want to mention on that front. Okay, so far promising for 2023. Arch Manning, Nico at Tennessee, Dante Moore, Jackson Arnold played pretty well. Malachi Nelson. By the way, this is why ESPN cannot be taken seriously for high school recruiting. They had him as their number one player. He couldn't win the job at Boise State. That's bad. That was a whiff by Lincoln there. So will we miss any games? 1 for yes, 0 for no. Ecuador, man, I fear you're right about Florida State. My apologies, by the way. I got some friends who are FSU fans. It's a rough time to be there. Get your votes in. 1 for yes, 0 for no. Our next live show, Sunday, Week 1 Red Zone, is planned, barring any chaos changes around the NFL. Hit that sub button. Make sure you guys are tuned in for it.